All right, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm talking to Andy Leonard.
Woo!
Andy is the host of the Fulfillment Project podcast and a sales director at a publishing company where he's consistently driving tens of millions in annual revenue. And he's on a mission to inspire individuals to discover true fulfillment beyond material success, integrating purpose, faith, family, and meaningful work. You can imagine why he's on the podcast today. Andy, welcome to the pod.
Well, my man, what's happening, dude? I'm so happy to be
Andy.
here. I've been a big fan. I love being on podcasts that I follow. It's like a dream come true because I've learned so much from you and your guests, and it's a joy. I hope that people listening today can pick up a couple nuggets that'll impact their life in a positive way.
Yeah, that's the key thing. It's like always dissecting like what's the essence of the work that we do? What's the essence of this? And I think it's just a intellectually honest and stimulating ideas, because at the end of the day, what do we have? Our family, our life, our business, our work. So
That's it, man. And 70% of people are disengaged at work. And even business
oh, yeah.
owners get so caught up in the day-to-day minutia, they're not happy. They forget what their purpose is in life. They're climbing a ladder without realizing what they're climbing towards. And so to have a podcast like this where we're reorienting, refocusing, zooming out, reflecting, so we make sure that we only get today once. We only get this hour once. How are we utilizing it effectively to become the best version of ourselves?
Yeah, very, very key there. I actually want to open up the premise. A few of the things that I've been working through and some of the things that I've come on the other side of. And I think it's a little bit of an open book here. I'm not sure if I discussed this too much in other mediums, but there was a time like last summer, I was just mostly focusing around just discerning work itself, right? And this isn't to come off in any way or so, but like there's a point where you're not just doing it for the money. You're not you've done that thing, you've climbed that mountain. Now it's like, what's the real contribution? What are you really looking at? And the more people that I talk to in tech, all the business owners that I get to serve and work with, and also like gentlemen and people like you, I think that's a broader question that we're going to be asking in society. And I think the AI wave is also influencing that question. But help us kind of go through that minutia, like your thoughts, your open thoughts. It's just like a raw conversation. This wasn't scripted, around when you start thinking about your own work and you move beyond needs. Like obviously, pay the house, pay the food, get the car, get the gas, get the EV, whatever you got, get the solar. But post that, work isn't just for that purpose. And I think we as humans need work more than the work needs us. Because we've been working since like the dawn of time, right? Building hammers, building something to move or make progress as society, civilization. So that's kind of like the opening stance of, I thought would be a pretty interesting conversation with you.
That's not a question, Raul. That's a whole lifetime of searching. And I've got a whole podcast and Substack dedicated to the question you just asked, because I've been in the professional workforce for 15 years. And before that, I worked through elementary, middle school, college, all around the world. I've been very fortunate. And what I notice is that there's a lot of emptiness behind people's eyes. Like I get to interact with hundreds of people a month, and probably a lot more than average. And about 15 years ago, when I started my professional career, I started writing down notes about things I'd observed. Like people are very interesting, and you get in these complex scenarios in business, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that was unique. So I just started a Google Doc, and today it's hundreds of pages long. And last year, that's why I started my Substack, is because I wanted to start putting these ideas out there to help people answer the question you're talking about. And someone might write it off as, oh, that's a first world problem, Raul. You just talked about solar and purpose, and I'm just trying to make a paycheck to buy some bread. And it's like, no, you're not. No one listening to this, maybe one person listening, actually needs more money. Most people listening have enough. Maybe you want more. I certainly do. I want more, but I have enough. And I think the idea that you're getting at is purpose and fulfillment. Why are we working? Why do we do what we do? And that answer is as unique as the person contemplating it. And the
Mhm.
first thing I'd recommend to people is to carve out time for reflection. If my personal practice is every day, I plan at the end of the day for tomorrow. At the beginning of the day, I review how I plan for today. Every month, I spend 1 hour reflecting on the month, planning for the next month. Every quarter, I take a day. I have a hermitage I rent out, and I spend the day there reflecting on the previous
Nice.
quarter, planning for the next quarter. Reflection has changed my life, and everyone I've ever encountered that actually takes it seriously, it's
Mhm.
insane. It helps you suck the juice out of the life you just lived and plan for the life you're about to live. I'm a married man, 2 kids. So much life happens at home and at work, Raul, as you know. But life's moving so fast. So many inputs are hitting me at once. I need to remove myself from the busyness, and I'm sure most people listening as well, if not everyone, you need to remove yourself from the busyness of life to appreciate what you just experienced yesterday, last week, last month, last quarter. Jot it down. Identify moments of gratitude, moments of weaknesses, areas that I can get better, things I need to focus on, people I need to call. And so, reflection, I think, like, where do we start on this? That's such a heavy question you launched off with.
Mm.
Reflection is number one. You can't do anything without it, at least nothing profound. You'll
Yeah.
get, maybe some people get lucky, but it won't be intentional.
No, I mean we're intellectual beings, so we have to think about our own thinking. I think setting the time for that. Also, in the business of life too, when you're listening to this, it doesn't mean that you're always back to back. It's also where is your attention and focus going to? Because I think a lot of us, including me, going through it, it's like an amazing experience just to detox from cheap dopamine, which does include screens. It does include distractions and really figuring out interiorly why are you, let's say you're addicted to like the news or seeing what the sports teams are doing, or like why are you addicted to that, and then trying to detox, and like whenever you have that urge, just like to not do it. That takes some willpower. But I think that's another way to like get away from the busyness, and you'll find out if you do that and you actually cut off, not cut off from society, but just cut off that cheap dopamine, you weren't as busy you thought you were.
Oh, oh, dude, that's exactly what I'm saying. So many of us spend so many hours doing things that are useless. And you're talking to a guy that is obsessed with the news. I use the word lightly. I read the Wall Street Journal front to back almost every day. I love it's my form of entertainment is, but there's also a practical
Yeah,
side of knowing what's going on in the world. But I also recognize when I need to put that down and get on my hands and knees and be with the boys. But like everyone thinks they're so busy. You ask someone, "Hey, how's it going?" The first thing they're going to say, "Oh, I'm so busy." 90% of people are going to say, "I'm so busy."
it's true. Yeah,
And then you say, the follow-up is, "Ralph, doing what? What's going on, man? Tell me. Like what's going uh,
I was just busy at work. Yeah, yeah,
they got nothing to say. And it's like, "Are you serious?" It's because people many people aren't intentional with their time. They're not intentional with what they're doing, and they're not reflecting on it, so it's not organized in their mind. So when someone asks them the question, uh, they can't say, "I'm so excited. I'm growing my business from 20 million last year to 25 million this year. I've got 6 new people on my team that I get to work with and mold in their unique ways. I've got my kids, 1 and 4. They're every day something different. My wife, the unique challenges of managing a household, working with her, the vulnerable conversations we have. We've got all these charities that we're helping to support. Like, there's a lot of exciting things we're doing if we're intentional about how we're deploying our
yeah.
energy. And yeah, the busyness thing is a hoax, man. Busyness is a hoax. Just like retirement's a hoax, by the way, but I think that's a different conversation for another day.
I think we agree on that. But hey, keep saving. Um, No, I think one of the key things around that also is like the negative entropy, and just I think within us the availability of ease and the availability of being mediocre. Not that we are, but we all can be. We can all behave that way. Because once you have the reflection, once you know, okay, cool, here's the game plan, here's what I want to do, then you got to act. And when you take action, you're actually moving towards whatever that thing is. If it's writing that novel, writing that book, doing the podcast, if it's advancing your career, the business, hiring, etc., you're going to go through friction. And that's a natural state within any type of growth, in my opinion. It doesn't require friction, but usually you will face some sort of friction because you're moving against entropy. You're moving against
What's
that energy. Like,
entropy?
hey, just like over time things decay. I mean, this is a simplistic version of it, but over time things decay or they get
Got
lesser
it.
and lesser. Like,
Yep.
yeah. So,
Yeah, so like regression to the mean sort of deal. Like you're always going to
oh, so
regress unless you're pushing against it.
correct, correct. It's just like the normal state of living life. All I have to do is, I mean, what is it? Don't quote me on this, but our subconscious brain keeps us alive by breathing. We don't have to think about breathing. We just breathe, right?
Yeah.
So that's the steady state of where we're at. That's where we could just exist as.
Well, and that is an easy place to be. And I said in my own opening commentary something about first world problems. And what I meant by that, I didn't get to extrapolate my thought as much as I want. Some people try to write that off, but it's real. Entropy, the way
Hmm.
you just defined it, is real because throughout evolutionary history, you just to live, you're outside, you're hunting, you're gathering, you're fighting, you're defending. And now modern culture, the free market economy, praise the Lord, has optimized for comfort in every way you could imagine. And we find ourselves in the opposite situation of our forefathers, where now we have to fight comfort. I've got
Hmm.
all the food I want in a grocery store. I've got all the entertainment I want on my phone, on the computer. I've got drinks and alcohol and everything I want. I'm not into porn, but if you want sexual desire, it's at the click of a button, you have it all. And we have to be intentional about discomfort. So when people talk about first world problems, I say, well, let's not write them off. It is a real problem for me. I am trying to figure out how not to get soft in this world. I'm trying to raise boys into men in a world where everything is at their fingertips. They don't have to go outside and chop wood. They don't have to go
Hmm.
wrestle with a bear. So how do you create men? How do I become a man in a world where everything is delivered to me on a cushion and every advertisement I read is telling me to get comfortable and eat the food I want and do what I want, when I want, how I want? And we have to fight against that comfort. And so I embrace first world problems. I love it. I love things. I love comfort, but also you have to intentionally inject discomfort into your life so we don't entropy, if that's the verb of that word. Like you go to
Well,
the
yeah. Well, that's just a definition of like it's the energy moving against you. Like it's thermodynamics and also quantum physics, but in terms of where we're at, so you don't go backwards, essentially.
yeah, like you go to the gym to get stronger, you have to rip your muscles. There has to be
Yeah.
pain to grow. And I think that's the experience in every aspect of life. If there is no pain, you cannot grow. Everyone listening, we all know this to be common. The best things in our life that we cherish the most, we have worked the hardest for.
Yeah.
Things things that are um, things that cost more, we value more. And whether we work hard for it, we pay a lot for it, we suffer a lot for it. I think that's why kids, despite the effort, are the number one enjoyment factor of parents in their life, beyond work, beyond success, beyond all the stuff, is because I don't know if you could work harder for anything than you have to work for your children.
Yeah. It's definitely huge. It's definitely a huge sacrifice there. I think moving towards simplistic, or I wouldn't say profound thoughts, but ideas of how to move into the space that you already are in with like fighting the entropy. One of the ways that I found was simply the energy that you bring to a conversation, like in that you can control your attitude. So I look at what can we control? What are the inputs that we can control for the output? Which is where I started, I think, this conversation was we only have so much that we can control. We can control who we want to be. We can control how we want to express ourselves through our attitude, how we see the world within and around us, the work that we do, the inputs, and going back to contribution. Like at the end of the day, the work that you're doing, if it's not in alignment to some sort of contribution, it's just it could be toil versus actual work where it benefits a lot of people. and you see like maybe you don't see it directly, but you might see like the impact that work can make. But in terms of fighting entropy, or what are you currently doing in terms of how you show up to work, how you show up at home, how you show up with the boys, how you show up for yourself? Like I know you're an avid reader. What are some of the simple, like practical approaches that you take?
Yeah, so to back up, Raul, purpose is critical, and it's something that I've
Yeah.
been working on a lot with everyone I interact with. I've got some awesome dudes that I mentor. I am the mentee of many awesome people, and something that seems to have been coming up a lot over the last year is purpose. What is my purpose? How do I stay engaged? And a couple stats I just have at my fingertips here. IDEO in 2018 talk about 5 studies on the benefits of purpose-driven workplace. And the compilation of studies, these 5 studies show that purpose-oriented employees experience 64% higher fulfillment. McKinsey in 2021 came out with a study that said, help your employees find purpose or watch them leave. 70% of employees actually identify the purpose of their lives at work. So if they're not feeling that
Hmm.
purpose in their work, they're going to leave and they're going to go somewhere where they're identifying that purpose. And a story I just told on my podcast, uh, I'm having some housework done. There's an electrician doing work. And I said, man, thank you for giving my family heat. Thank you for making my groceries stay fresh. Thank you for giving me a place where I can raise my family. And he said, oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that. And it dawned on me that a lot of people have inherent purpose in their work, but they just haven't
Yeah.
taken the time to appreciate what they're actually doing. In my work, we are a K-12 educational publishing company, and we give kids the ability to learn to read and do math, to explore the dynamics of science and social studies. And for me personally, reading changed my life. Absolutely
Hmm.
fundamentally changed my life when I started reading after college, which ironically, when I was out of school, is when I started reading very voraciously. But in my mind, education is the great equalizer. It can take someone from a horrible background that they had no responsibility for. It's not their fault. They just happen to be born into it. Why are people born into circumstances that are really
Hmm.
tough? I don't know. But here's what I do know: education can bring you out of that. Reading can bring you out of that. So the purpose of my work is to help every student in America, no matter where they started, have a finish line that's greater than where they started, greater than their parents, off the shoulders of giants. And so I help. How do I find purpose? Well, I think the number one thing first is identifying what the purpose is. So and that's now I'm so trained at looking for it. I just see it everywhere in everything
Hmm.
everyone's doing. It's just like when you buy a car, you've never seen that car in your life before, but then you go and you buy that
Oh
Ford
yeah.
F-150. All of a sudden, there's Ford F-150s everywhere. You see them everywhere. And it's like when you start looking for purpose, you start seeing it everywhere. And I don't know if I answered your question, but that's my thought on purpose.
So I think the key thing is you're looking at the purpose of all the simplistically looking. So I was looking at practical ways into your life to continue to fight entropy. And one of the key ways that I mentioned was around the attitude that you show up as, how you actually bring your energy towards an environment, a space, a person. And here you're also saying how you perceive the work that you're doing, not only for yourself, but what other people are doing. So you can appreciate the end outcome of that thing, which we can tend to either take for granted or that we miss.
Yeah. So, and okay. So, practically, someone's listening, like Andy, you just said a lot of words. Raul is using amazing words like thermodynamics and words that are beyond my personal IQ. But here's what I do every morning I wake up and I'm a reflective man, I'm a prayerful man. I start in the scriptures. I start thinking about my destiny, which is ultimately death. I will die. And what is my purpose today? Why am I on this earth? What am I here to do? So practically, that's the way I start every day, just to get
Mm.
grounded and make sure that my runway for the day is aligned and in the direction and going at the velocity I want it to achieve my goals. If I were to die today, am I happy? And I'd say yes. I told someone the other day, like, of course, there's a lot of things I want to do. I want to see my boys grow up. I want to live into old age with my wife. I want to do things professionally. And But if I died today, I have no regrets. I live intentionally. And so
Mm.
if my card were to get called today, so be it, man. I've got no regrets. I've made a bazillion mistakes. It's not like I never made mistakes, but I've addressed them, I've recognized them, I've apologized when needed, and I'm moving forward. And it's like I'm at peace. And peace is the number one thing. Maybe it's the litmus test for life. Am I at peace? And if you're not, I think that's the quickest way, the most valuable thing in the world is to have peace in your heart. Am I off base there? Am I crazy?
No, I like that approach. I haven't heard it in that way. Like if you do have peace, then that's a good litmus test. I heard recently that the apex, like the peak of music, the entire goal of music, and the best kind of music. This is not a subjective thing. This is more like an objective looking at it. The best kind of music is one that calms you, that creates organization within you, that helps you be here, be present. That could be very different for very different people. But I think that's an interesting litmus test. If you are at peace right now, and I think this goes back to being alone with your thoughts, reflecting, being able to see who are you here now around you, how do you show up at work, what kind of work are you doing, do you see the impact of that work? And yeah, it's pretty. I also haven't heard that before. My destiny, we will die, and that some people are legitimately afraid of dying. I'm not sure if you know that a lot of futurists think about freezing their bodies, like immediately when you die, inject antifreeze, in the hopes of in the future bringing you back to life. So
What? Hold it.
yeah,
Hold Don't wait. I gotta Google this when we get off here. I was not aware of that. I mean, it doesn't
no,
surprise
it's
me.
it's, it's they're
Really,
different
nothing would surprise
ideologies,
me.
right?
But what's the goal? So when science advances enough, they come back.
Well, a lot of people are dumping their brains into AI so that there's an AI version of them so that people can still interact with them once they pass. And then others, like they want to conserve their body and their brain so that when we have the technology to bring you back, we can.
That's so interesting. I mean, now we're heading into the realm of spirituality, which I'm probably not the best one at, but something I reflect on a lot is if you're listening, what's the name of your great grandparents? What's the name of your great great grandparents? Why do you think you're so important? Like, or to these people that would freeze their brains, like most people at the end of their lives are ready to die. I love to spend time in nursing homes and I wish I spent more time there. But it's like these people have lived good lives and you talk to them and they're very at peace. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them are scared.
Mhm.
And I can
I mean, it's a
understand that as
reality. It's,
well.
it's a reality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great shift. There's a great unknown. And I've got a lot of faith that it's going to be a certain way. And maybe it's not that way. And I'll be curious to see. But what makes us think we're so important? Like, I don't know my great grandfather's name. The man lived a whole life, raised a whole family that led to me. And like, if someone were to bring back my brain, what am I that original? Everything I say and think and do is something I've read or learned from somebody else that's come before me. So like, free someone else's brain that's a lot better than me, you know?
Yeah. No, I think it's just like the view of death that you're viewing it as a at peace with it. And I've also reflected, even just this morning, like I hope that I'm brave enough to counter the last moments of my life, because a lot of people also are not. Like there's assisted suicide and etc. I didn't know this conversation would end here or go here, but um, I feel like I'm saying that now. Hopefully that I'm brave enough to face it, but I feel like that's like cowarding away from death.
Well, and that's no small thing. I mean, I'm not making light of it. In the Catholic tradition, we have the Hail Mary, and the end of that prayer is pray for us now and at the hour of our death. The only two guarantees in our life that we have is the moment you and me have right here, Raul, on this podcast. This is a guaranteed. We got it. We're here. Nothing else is guaranteed but this moment and the hour of our death. And like in the Catholic tradition, those two things are ever present before us. And because I think there's a lot of gravity there. And I pray I'm brave enough too, man. You and me. And how do we know? How do we practice for that? Well, I don't just hope. I'm not rolling the dice. I, I hop in the cold plunge to do things I don't want to do. I
Mm.
I eat healthy. I mortify my flesh by fasting. And I exercise. I lift heavy weights to grow in strength physically, to subdue my mind. I subdue my body so as to subdue my mind. And it's like, these
Hmm.
things are all preparation. We can't just hope by chance we're ready one day to do so. That's like somebody saying, hey, I hope one day I'm a millionaire. It's like, well, I'll give you a lot of steps to set you
Oh,
up to
yeah.
become a
Yeah.
millionaire. These things, and life is very logical. Everything is designed. Look at the way a tree is designed. Look at the way a plant is designed. The human eye. You look at the engineering of the eyeball and the eardrum. Like, these things are beautifully created. Nothing happens by accident. There is an order, a beautiful order to this whole thing. And so, yeah, if you want to be brave at death, we can start working on that now. And you better believe, bet your ass I'm
Yeah.
working on it, man, because when I get there, I want to be ready and I want to be a vision for my family, hopefully, that's surrounding me for what a brave death looks like. I love that you said it like that, Raul. I've never heard of it like that, but brave death, that's something to think of. I've got a question for you real
Yeah.
quick while we're talking about death. And uh, it's funny the conversation went here, but maybe it's fitting that the end of a conversation ends on the topic of death, the ultimate end. But on your tombstone, Raul, have you thought of your epitaph? What if you could have one
Mm.
sentence to describe you? What would it be?
Dang, I don't even know. Because you read them, you go to the cemeteries, you read them like, oh, they're all the same, like loving father, husband, or whatever. Like, I don't know, I never thought of that.
Oh man,
I
it's a
don't want it to be. I don't want it to be cliche. That's what I'm saying out now. Not to offend anyone who has a cliche one, but I'm just saying I don't want it to be too super simplistic.
it's a great reflection prompt. And I've done a lot of reflecting on it. I've written it down in my will, and I want mine to say, and I have it written down, and I've told my wife so she can hold me accountable to trying to live up to this. A happier man never lived.
Dang. All right.
I mean, you start with the end in mind, it kind of orients your whole life towards that. So, anyway, a little reflection prompt to take with you there.
Oh, that's fascinating. Well, Andy, I think you are right. This is a great place to continue the conversation for our listeners to reflect and maybe check out some of the work you're doing. Where can they go to thank you for being on and learn more about you?
Yeah, well, Raul, thank you so much for having me on. A total joy, a great conversation. I didn't know where we'd go. If listeners want to learn more about these types of things, my main work is on Substack Fulfillment Project. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm on Spotify. I'm on iTunes. Search Fulfillment Project. Andy Leonard's my name. Like, subscribe. I've got everything. Most things are for free. I do have a premium side of it where my biggest struggle with reading books, like I said, voracious reader. I love consuming content. And my biggest issue is when self help books are what to do books, not how to do books. So they give you a
Hmm.
vision of what to do without telling you how to do it. So every guest I have on, I do a lot of long form podcasts like this. I do some monologues, but then those get released on Mondays. The Wednesdays after my podcasts and articles go out on Substack, I have a self reflection guide for premium members. And that is to unpack it
Hmm.
and to personalize that content for your life. So Raul said these great things. Okay, I'm not Raul. He's a lot smarter than me. He's in a different business than me. He's got a different environment than me. How do I adapt what he said, the lessons he learned, to Andy Leonard's life? And so that's what the goal of some of these deeper reflections are. I've got a book out on season 1 of the podcast, which is all about self reflection, personalizing this stuff. I'm working on beta testing right now, a journal, and I've
There
got
you
a
go.
group of people beta testing, not a journal, but a planner, a task planner. And if people want to hop on that, they can DM me. It's on all my work is on Amazon, my books and this planner here. So anyway, search Fulfillment Project on Amazon. It'll jump on up.
There you go. I'll put those links in the show notes. Andy, thanks again, man.
Oh, rock on, brother. Keep living, keep doing your good work. And to the guests out there, I love you. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to get more of these podcasts, please go ahead and subscribe to wherever you're watching or listening to the pod. If you have any suggestions or questions that you want me to answer on the pod, or you have a guest that you want me to interview, please go ahead and email me all of your suggestions and questions at podcast@dogoodwork.io. That's podcast@dogoodwork.io. If you'd like to give me public feedback, you can go on Apple Podcasts, and from there, you can leave up to a 5-star review. I would greatly appreciate that. If you like more free resources where you can get my best strategies to help you increase your company's performance and scale profitably, you can get handpicked articles to propel your growth, and you can get trainings and discussions that I give freely online, as well as low-cost resources such as my books and guides. You can get all of that
by going to dogoodwork.io/resources. 90% of all of these resources are not behind any email opt-in, so you can get instant access by going to dogoodwork.io/resources. Now, if you'd like to accelerate your progress and shorten the gap between information and action and start seeing results in your business, let's work together to increase your company's performance and scale profitably and serve more clients without the overwhelm. You can request a free clarity call to see how we can best support you to reach your goals by going to dogoodwork.io/apply. Again, that's dogoodwork.io/apply. As always, it's an honor to be a small part in your journey. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.